Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Let me post this in a few different places and we will jump in. So give me 1 minute just so I can tell people that we are doing a live stream. Alright, I probably should post it on Twitter too. Alright, so Bitcoin's at 57.8. So, we put out a video a couple days ago saying this is relatively bullish when it bounces off that 20-day SMA or the 21-day EMA. We've looked at this before and have seen that these bounces, right, off the 21-day EMA or the 20-day SMA can yield fairly impressive bounces. And if we just simply go back and look at other times where Bitcoin sort of bounced off of these levels, it's relatively bullish in the short term, right? This was a 16% bounce before coming back down. This was a 24% bounce. We've seen other times where we're sort of bullish, we go back down to this level and we bounce. This was like a 16, 17% bounce. So we're basically seeing that same thing play out here. So sometimes when we have corrections, we don't really bounce, right? Like last time after going to 58K and then dropping back down, we didn't really bounce that much. We sort of just went below it, and therefore you didn't get that immediate surge. But other times you do get that immediate surge when it bounces off that level. And so right now, from the area we bounced at approximately $53,000 or so, we're already up 8%. And so this is just something I want people to keep an eye on, because a lot of times when it bounces, when the price of Bitcoin bounces off the 20-day SMA or the 21-day EMA, it can really ignite a lot of bullish sentiment again relatively quickly, just like it did right here. And we ultimately went down for another month or so, or maybe another couple weeks, and just like it's done in the past, right? I mean, just like when we get these bounces, even at 8,500 back up to close to 10,000, people can get really, really bullish really quickly. Okay, so we know that these bounces off the 20-day SMA and the 21-day EMA, while it's not something you can necessarily take to the bank or anything, they can yield fairly quick bounces, right? They can yield fairly quick price appreciations of Bitcoin, where it moves back up relatively quickly. So from where it did bounce from, I mean, if it were to go up, say, 15%, that would actually take us back to the prior all-time high. A 10% bounce would take us up to 58,600. Okay, so also remember that, this is Bitcoin volatility is still relatively high. Okay, so we haven't really seen any major Ethereum move yet. I mean, each and every day, if every single day, Bitcoin's dropping 3.5%, 5%, and then going up the next day 2% and 1.5%, this is not really diminished Bitcoin volatility. Bitcoin volatility is still relatively high. By the way, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Let's go for 250,000 subscribers, right? What's 100,000 subscribers among friends? We're almost there. I think we're at, what are we at? Like 200 and something thousand. I don't even know anymore. It changes relatively quickly. We're at 236,000 subscribers. So we need 13,000 more subscribers, and we'll be at 250,000, a modest 250,000, right? So Bitcoin's at 57.8. It's looking pretty good. Note that this surge, I thought this was interesting. This surge right here that you're seeing by Bitcoin over the last hour also happened to correspond to this dump by the dollar. Look at this. Look at the dollar. Look at the dump here. So the dollar over the last hour just had a massive dump of around, 0.55%. Now, to you, 0.55% might not be a lot if you're only used to navigating crypto, but for the dollar to drop 0.5% in 1 hour is fairly substantial, right? That's fairly substantial. And over the course of that same hour, while the dollar dropped, over the course of that same hour, look at what Bitcoin did. It basically just had a massive pump where it went up about 3 to 4%. Okay, and it's still somewhat climbing. It went all the way up to close to $58,000. So as always, keep an eye on the dollar. And what we want to remind you with the dollar is let's zoom out here. So remember with the dollar, and the bull market support band is not the best thing for the best representation of it, but if this is a fake out, if this move for the dollar above this bull market support band is a fake out, sort of like it was in October of 2017, then and we see the dollar come back down this way, then there's a high probability, in my opinion, that the price of Bitcoin could continue to surge. Okay, but if this is not a fake out and the dollar is actually going to head north, then I would have a hard time seeing the price of Bitcoin continuing to have a major surge from its current valuation. Okay, I mean, it doesn't mean it can't go into the $60,000 to $70,000 range, but if the dollar's going up quickly, Bitcoin's probably not. If the dollar's going down quickly, there's a good chance Bitcoin will be moving back up. Just something to keep in mind. So we just noticed the dollar had a pretty big sharp decline over the last hour. So let's pull up Ether USD and see where we are. We're currently coming in at 1,800 and 1,816, which is, we also have that number of viewers. We have about 1,816 viewers. So thank you guys for representing the price of Ethereum. So we're still waiting. We're still waiting on the Ethereum tsunami, right? And we could be waiting for, a while longer, right? We don't know how long we're going to have to wait. We know the milestone we have to wait for, and the milestone we have to wait for is for diminished Bitcoin volatility at a price lower than its prior all-time high. Now, if Bitcoin were to go to, say, 65 or 70K, there's a good chance that it'll just drag Ethereum kicking and screaming above $2,000. But again, for me at this point, a $2,000 Ethereum is nothing to get out of bed for, right? We're not gonna freak out over a $2,000 Ethereum. I think the more realistic discussion is, say, a $2,500 Ethereum and a $3,000 Ethereum, because the valuation of Ethereum has taken a pretty big hit, in recent times, right? I mean, if we go look at the Ether Bitcoin chart, it has bled back down a decent amount, and so we'd like to see this sort of come back up. But in order for it to do that, I would say we need to see diminished Bitcoin volatility. And a $2,000 Ether would basically just correspond to a very modest increase in the current Ether Bitcoin valuation. So I don't think a $2,000 Ether would be something you should write home about. It's not something you need to brag about. It's just like, okay, well, we have our positions in Ether, we have our positions in Bitcoin. The valuation of Ether has been dropping, so that's not necessarily a good thing. We'd like to see it surge back this way. Okay, this is nothing. Okay, a $2,000 Ether at this point would not be something to get super excited about. So let's say a $2,000 Ether will be sort of that going through the motions, right? So conquering $2,000 in a bull market will just be more or less going through the motions. And once Ethereum breaks above $2,000, I think it'll move quickly. Okay, so if the market stays bullish, if Bitcoin stays bullish and doesn't capitulate next week, I think we're going to see Ethereum in the not so distant future break out above $2,000, right? I mean, again, we might have a few more gray hairs by that point. And then once it does, we might expect it to move relatively quickly. Okay, Ethereum has these short bursts against Bitcoin, and then it sort of calms down, right? So this was a short burst that happened, over the course of 1 to 2 months, and then it calmed down for a while. Then we had another burst where it moved up over the span of 3 to 4 weeks, and then we calmed down. And then we had another 4 to 5 week move up. This was only 4 weeks up, and then a longer period of consolidation. So what we're sort of looking for the same type of thing. We're looking for, we know that the Ether Bitcoin valuation is consolidating right now. It's somewhat going down, but we're waiting for that, that 3 to 4 week move, maybe longer, where we see it trend back up. And for all we know, we're going to come all the way back down here before trending back up. I don't know. I don't know how long we'll go. I mean, one thing we could do is we could look at it on a linear scale, which obviously makes these lines look really funny, and sort of draw where we could be going in that instance. Okay. I think what I'll do, so as to not mess this one up, we have our Ether Bitcoin chart. This is a log scale, but let's actually pull it up. Let's pull it up on a linear scale. I'm going to do it on a different exchange here. So this is our Ether Bitcoin valuation on a linear scale, and so we're sort of like riding up this line right here, more or less. And you could also maybe look at the top of this and say it's sort of expanding out as well. So it gives you like a different perspective, I think, than the log scale, right? Like just sort of extending this out and looking at this pattern that the Ether Bitcoin valuation has been on for a while, in January, and then in coming back down to it in March over here, and then coming back in May of 2020, again in November of 2020, our December capitulation, which we discussed at length, right? We discussed this at length, and then maybe again here. I mean, if we come down to this level, it could represent, going back down to 0.03 potentially. What would cause us to go back to 0.03? Well, I think one thing that would cause that would be if Bitcoin were to go back into price discovery mode. So like if Bitcoin goes to $65,000, $70,000, then there's a good chance we're going to see the Ether Bitcoin valuation bleed. The nice thing though is that if Bitcoin does go to $70,000, let me just pull up our trusty calculator here on Wolfram Alpha. So if Bitcoin were to go to say a modest $70,000 and an Ether Bitcoin stayed at 0.03, then that would put Ethereum at a $2,100 Ethereum. So the great thing about that is if we were to see Bitcoin surge, say to that new 70K level, which I know a lot of short-term technical analysis would point to. I don't necessarily believe in that stuff, but I'm just saying that is what a lot of people have been saying would be like a $72,000 Bitcoin. If it were to go to $72,000 and Ether Bitcoin's valuation were to come back down to this level, it would still correspond to over a $2,000 Ether. And so this is why I would say a $2,000 Ether is not going to be something to get out of bed for. If we come back down and then shoot back up to the top of this channel, that'll be something to get out of bed for. Because if we go, and we can see we were at this valuation in September of 2019, and then again in February 2020 on this line, and then again in August of 2020, and then again in January and February of 2021. So if we were to come back up to this channel, let's actually take some measured moves here. By the way, guys, subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Our like to viewer ratio is absolutely abysmal. Let's go for 1,000 likes. So let's look at our time between these tests. So this was 130 days, and then this one was about 180 days, and then this one right here was about 140 days. So we're looking at a range between maybe 130 to 180 days. Let's say 140 to 180 days. So we're talking about maybe 5 to 6 month periods between tests of this and then going back up to the top. So if we were to do something like that and continue, and let's go say 130 days out from this point, 130 days might not put us until reaching this until potentially June, to give you an indication of how long these processes can take. I mean, it doesn't mean we would necessarily wait until June to start moving that direction. But let's say Bitcoin volatility remains high for a while longer. If the Ether Bitcoin valuation continues to not do much for a few more weeks, we're already going to be getting into mid-April. And then if it starts moving up, say in late April, early May, it's not that hard to imagine it doing something like this and it sort of being in line with what's already happened, or if it takes longer doing something like that. And then we come up to these valuations up here. So this is one perspective I think to look at. And if we were to go back up to this valuation, it might correspond to 0.055. So it would also depend on what the valuation of Ethereum or of Bitcoin would be at the time. If Bitcoin were valued at $70,000, then that could put Ether close to $4,000. If Bitcoin, say, calmed back down to 5,000 or 55, let's say $55,000, that would put Ether at around 3,000. So we can sort of see this. We can sort of see potential path for Ether against Bitcoin and a path for Ether against USD. So again, what I would say is that anything an Ethereum, we're sort of testing that $1,000 to $2,000 range now. Okay, I think that the range between $1,000 to $2,000 is sort of our overvaluation reaccumulation phase. It's not as attractive as this phase over here, when we were basically at our regression band. It's not as attractive as this accumulation phase. It's not as attractive as this accumulation phase, but it still is somewhat attractive in terms of the grand scheme of the market cycle to say, you know what, there's a good chance this is another reaccumulation phase, just fairly extended from where we were just over a year ago. So just something to consider, and hopefully that makes sense. So we'll see if ultimately that pans out or not. So we'll see. How's everyone doing today, by the way? I just made a chain link video. I'll release the link video this afternoon, my time. So maybe a few hours, after I do the stream, I'll release the link video. It's basically a 20-minute video on link. So make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you want to go through all those data science models that we discussed with Link USD, Link Bitcoin, and Link Ether. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. I will remind you, we have a Telegram channel. We have almost 26,000 people in it. So if you guys want to join the Telegram channel, I'll post it in the chat room. Make sure you guys check out the Telegram channel. Remember, I will not message you first. If you get a message from someone pretending to be me, sending you links to some scam website, it's not me. You can block them, you can report them. I will not message you first. So if you're gonna fall for the scams, don't join the Telegram group. You can change it in your settings so that people can't contact you. Just make sure if you join the Telegram group and someone contacts you pretending to be me, it's not me. It's definitely not me. I'm not contacting people when they join the Telegram group. So just something to keep in mind. I can't say that enough. I know some people feel like I say that all the time, but I get a message from someone basically every single day saying, like they don't understand like what this website is. I'm like, I'm not promoting this. You're being scammed, and I've mentioned it several times, but it just seems to go over a lot of people's heads that someone could possibly be scamming them. So I will not message you if you're joining the Telegram group. It's not me. It's not me. Yeah, Ethereum. What's Ethereum? Ethereum's at 1818. More or less doing the same thing. Nothing too crazy yet. Adam says, "Can I please design and release into the cryptoverse merchandise?" The problem, I sometimes think about it, and then I ultimately come back to as much as I would like to do merchandise, I don't want to do it as much as I don't want to do it. So that's sort of what's been keeping me from doing it. I'm not saying I will never do it, but my desire to do merchandise is actually overpowered by my desire not to do it at the moment. Cardano, yay or nay? I mean, you guys know I'm a Cardano bull, right? We've been talking about Cardano since 2 cents. Yeah, let's see a $5 Cardano. Let's see a $10 Cardano. I mean, yeah, I'm a Cardano bull, right? I have a position in Cardano, and I'm ready to watch it hopefully move up over the next several years. I don't know that it's going to go to $5 or $10 this year. It might, and if it did, I'll be a happy guy. I'll be a happy man if that happens. But I think time is on our side, so be patient. I could see it going to that level in the future. I don't necessarily think it's going to go to $5 tomorrow. Time is on our side, so be patient. Let's wait for the market cycle to play out. No, I'm not gonna put my face on any thumbnails. I don't. Yeah, and I know I probably would get more views if I did, but who has time for that? Someone says crypto merch probably won't age well. I think it depends on what you mean by age well, right? Like if you mean like is it going to age well over the next 6 months? Maybe not. Maybe not. You know, but if you look, you know, if you go look at the chart for Bitcoin, and I mean most of what we do is of course you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, some of the top coins. You know, if you look at the top charts, it's hard to look at this chart and say that things wouldn't have aged well. Now, of course, you could always contend that, you know, anything when we're heading down isn't necessarily aging well. But at the same time, when you look at the macro scale, it does age well, right? Because it just keeps trending up. Yeah, I think if I were to make a t-shirt with Ethereum on it, it would have to be the I don't really have any plans to do this anytime soon, but maybe like the Ethereum mountain range or something, you know? Like the ethers. Probably should show it on a different. I mean, who doesn't like to go hiking up the ethers? My favorite mountain range by far. Um, Putting in new peaks. We'll see how high this peak can take us. To give you an idea of where 3,000 would be, you know, it'd be right around that level. So that's where 3,000 would be, and 5,000 would be here. So I sort of think that I think that there could be more juice left in Ethereum in the short term, right? Like, and when I say short term, I mean over say the next like 2 to 4 months. I think that a $3,000 to $5,000 ether is theoretically possible, but after that happens, I honestly would like to see it cool down for a while, maybe drop back down and consolidate for an extended period of time before trending higher. If we plot on here our regression rainbow for Ethereum, you know, we this is what we have. So I would say these two levels are theoretically possible. But if we did do something like that, I would at that point I would probably become fairly bearish in the short term. Like if Ether were to go to between 3 to 5K, I might start to become somewhat bearish in the short term. Still macro bullish. Like I think that Ethereum will trend to $10,000 over the next couple years. But I don't think it's just going to go straight there. I mean, if we do go between the $3,000 to $5,000 range, I would probably want to see a retracement, maybe back down to our bull market support or something, and then maybe we can sort of gather ourselves and then trend higher later on. That's sort of what I would be looking for if, in fact, we're able to make that move to the $3,000 to $5,000 range. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Remember, we have the premium list, Altcoin season sale. It's been going on for a long time. Make sure you guys check it out. I want to make sure as many people that want to sign up for this at the lower price can do so before I raise it, because once I raise it, I don't actually anticipate ever putting it back down to the current price. I have brought it back down to the current price several times, but I don't anticipate it changing it, or I don't anticipate ever bringing it back. So I'll post it in the chat. Make sure you guys check it out. You can find a link to it in the Telegram or in the description. So check that out. You get access to the weekly reports and videos, the Telegram alerts channel, the Telegram chat room, the risk dashboard, the trading view indicators, the Into the Cryptoverse app with the risk levels, sort of building that out. Make sure you guys check it out. And we'll just continue along. So Ether's now at 1827. Again, it's just being dragged up by Bitcoin. DOT is looking fairly decent. Let's take a look at DOT. Um, let's take a look at ADA first. Maybe ADA's. Let's see if ADA is above ADA is back above its 20-day, so that's good. ADA is above the 20-day. This was actually coming on this candle right here, happened with the Coinbase Pro listing. So I'm still bullish on ADA. So hopefully ADA can put in a new all-time high, which would mean it's going to above $1.50 or so. I mean, I could get used to a $2 ADA. I'm not if it went to $2, I could get really used to that for sure. The bull market support for ADA, by the way, is a long ways off. So even in the event of a correction, we have a lot of wiggle room here to still say we're still in a bull market. I mean, it could go down to 50 to 63 cents and still be in a bull market. If that sounds weird to you, you're like, well, what is he talking about? Remember, if you look at Ethereum during the last cycle, it had 60% corrections down to the 20-week moving average and was still in a bull market. So with ADA, I'm still bullish. We'll see what happens. We'll see how high it can go. Don't be surprised at some point to see a 50 to 60% correction. Doesn't mean the bull market's over. It might just be shaking out a lot of people. DOT, let's talk about DOT. So DOT is at 35.79. Let's take a look at where the bull market support band is, or not the support band. Let's just see where the 20-day is for DOT. We are sort of riding it. The 20-day is at 35.38, which we're slightly above. So DOT is right along that 20-day moving average. Hopefully we can get a nice bounce off of this soon. We know that the DOT Bitcoin valuation is somewhat emulating the Ethereum Bitcoin valuation from years ago. It has pulled back recently, back down to the prior sort of resistance level. So let's see if we can sort of continue this move to the upside, just like the Ether Bitcoin valuation did in 2015, 2016. Okay, so this is what we're looking for. We're looking to see if the DOT Bitcoin valuation can sort of continue this sort of Ether Bitcoin move where it bled in Q4 and then back up. So the same idea with DOT, right? Bled in Q4. Oh, what is this? Same idea, so bleeding in Q4 and then hopefully up. Link's looking good. It's at $31. So we will have that video on Link coming out here in a few hours, so make sure you guys subscribe to see that. Why don't I have a Neo position? I don't want one. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. How do you earn interest on stablecoins? You can do that several ways, through DeFi or CeFi, decentralized finance or centralized finance. I'm not going to mention which platforms I use on here, but you can. There's plenty of platforms. There's plenty of platforms you can use. Let's go back and look at Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's about to break 58,000. We'll switch this over to an hourly chart. We'll switch it over to a minute chart. Why the hell not? So Bitcoin, I mean, it looks like maybe it actually did just go above 58,000 or so, but it's right around 58,000 right now. We're at 57.9. How do I make so many videos? I just hit the record button and make them. Is the Forbes interview still on hold? Yeah, I would say to keep it on hold. You know, there'll be plenty of time to do your interviews when the bull market's over. So I would keep them on hold. Focus on making money, and then you can talk to them later. Someone says they see Twilight Imperium in board games in the background. What's my favorite? Yeah, I like Through the Ages, Terra Mystica. My favorite board game is chess. Go figure. Bitcoin's now at $58,000. Actually, back in the bear market in the accumulation phase, we would actually play chess on stream a lot. We would do like crypto and chess. Does anyone remember those days where I would play a viewer, or I would play someone in the chat? We would just play chess while the prices of Bitcoin just basically didn't do anything for months at a time. Can I check the W forming on the 4-hour Bitcoin chart? So I'm guessing he's talking about this, maybe is this Bitcoin giving us the middle finger and it's gonna come back down? Or, I mean, I don't know if you're talking about that or not. I think it's too early to say whether this is a W forming. For those that aren't aware, we have had these, we have looked at these big macro W's that have formed, right? This is like an Ethereum USD W. Look at this. Look at this nice W for the win, right? For the win. And then back up to this point right here, and then back down, and then up. What's interesting about the Ether USD valuation is if you look at this on the 6-month candles, look how amazing this looks. Like, look how amazing the 6-month candles look. Like, basically we basically just had huge support right here. Like, every 6 months we were around $1 or 133 at the bottom, or around that level. So this is where we sort of gained our support, and now we've started continuing higher. So let's go back to the 1-day chart. Ether still looks good. To me, Ether still looks good. I mean, the Ether Bitcoin valuation isn't looking so high, but we know why. I mean, it's because Bitcoin volatility remains high. So Ether Bitcoin is now at 0.0315, 0.0316. So this is sort of this channel that we were talking about earlier, right? Maybe we'll see something like that play out. My chess rating. My ELO's around like 1700. I think it's around like 1700, 1750 or so. In bullet, I'm around 1800, which is like 1 minute chess. My rating's around 1800, and in like blitz, I'm closer to maybe like 1700. Can we have a chess tournament? Maybe we'll do a chess tournament at some point. Ether's now at 1830. Yeah, maybe we'll play chess on the stream. If there's enough people that want to play chess, we can always play chess on the stream. Actually, we had what's his name? John Bartholomew. He's got like a chess channel. He actually watches the chat. He's an international master, and I mentioned chess, and he was in the chat, and I ended up playing him. I mean, he destroyed me because his rating's like 2400. But he actually watches the stream. No, I don't really play video games like Call of Duty. No, I'll play chess. I'm all about that. I like playing against. Someone says, "What's my favorite opening?" I like playing as white against the Sicilian. That's my favorite. What chess platform? Yeah, I play on Lichess and chess.com. I think on stream we've always done it on Lichess though. You look like I play soccer. Yeah, actually that was what I played when I grew up. Soccer was my sport. I also played some other ones, but soccer was my favorite. Or football, depending on... Not American football. Yeah, if you guys can get Hikaru, I'll play Hikaru. He's a grandmaster. You guys should follow him. Everyone always asks me like what YouTube channels I follow. I don't really follow too many crypto channels, but there's a lot of other channels I follow. If Hikaru wants to play play me in chess, I'd be happy to do that. He's like one of the top American players. All right, so let's see. So Bitcoin is now above 58K. Look at this candle. I mean, this is a 4-hour candle. It's up 5.6%. Hourly candle, we had one that was up 3.7%. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see if this ends up being. I mean, you could argue. I mean, you could argue this is a W on a 1-hour chart, right? As well, or you can go out to the 4-hour chart. And I don't know if, you know, I think the ultimate question is, right, is that, and this is why a lot of a short-term TA is so subjective, right? Because you could draw this like this and say this is the W, or you could draw it like this and say this is the W, right? So I think it's somewhat subjective, to be completely honest, but, and it also depends on your time frame, right? Like the further out you go, the more likely you are to say, okay, well, like if there is a W, then this would be the W. Not on the 1-hour time frame. Make sure you guys subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Give the video a thumbs up. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. Someone says favorite person I've banned. There's actually one guy, and I almost don't want to. I don't even want to mention his name because then everyone's gonna start talking about him again. But like he said something like ridiculous in the chat, and then like I basically banned him because he was basically trolling the chat, and I didn't want him trolling. He basically was like spamming the chat or something, and I don't, you know, when people spam the chat, it sort of like ruins the experience for everyone. And I called him out on, I'm like, hey, don't do that anymore. And then he did it one more time, so I banned him. His name was like Omer. And then like right when I hit the ban button, he wrote this like long apology. Like he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. You know, like whatever. And then I tried to unban him and I can't find him. Like when I go to the banned users, I can't find him. He even sent me like this email. He sent me like an email, like apologizing. I felt awful. I wish I could find him, but when I go to like the removed users, I don't see his name, so I don't know. If we go through another market crash, do I think it'll last as long as the last one? Well, you know, if Bitcoin, I mean, it depends on what you mean by like a market crash, right? I mean, I don't really know exactly what you're talking about when you say that because it's somewhat subjective. If we were to have a nice retracement here, like if in one theoretical scenario we sort of came back down, I don't think we necessarily have to go back to this level before moving back up. Like we could come back down and then sort of trend back up. So I don't necessarily think we're at the point where it has to come back down to that level. I mean, you know, if Bitcoin were to continue on up higher, let's say it goes past the regression band for all we know, and does something like this in the short term, then I think we're going to have a much nastier correction. But if we were to have a correction sooner, you know, like if we were to have a correction, say here, then I don't necessarily think that that means the bull market is necessarily over. Because this has only really been going on for, I mean, this major move only started in October. You could argue that we really started getting geared up for it in March, and that since March we've been moving. But last cycle we basically moved up, you know, starting from like this point here in August of 2015. So we went, you know, a fairly long period of time, like August of 2015, August of 2017. That's 2 years, so we went 2.5 years or so. So I don't think that it necessarily, you know, if we do have a correction coming up, I don't necessarily think it's the end of the bull market by any means. It could just be sort of a consolidation period, where we sort of like, you know, all the new money gets, you know, basically gets wiped out, and then people then come back in, reaccumulate, and we trend higher. Are there any other crypto focused channels I would recommend? I mean, we've had some people come on the channel and collaborate before, so I would say, you know, anyone we've had on the show, I feel like it's, you know, you could go check out their channels. Bitcoin Pi top indicator says the top is really close, approximately 14 days away. Remember though, like any model, a lot of these models have been fit retroactively. We do not know if they're predictive. We don't know if they're predictive in any way. We do not know that yet. Okay, so we cannot say decisively that this will be a Bitcoin top. So like if you look at the Pi cycle indicator right here, right, it sort of predicts the tops within 3 days. It did it here, here, and here. Remember though, this was fit after the fact. This has not been used ever in any predictive fashion, but I think because of how, I mean, it's a fairly decent fit, because of how decent it is, it's something that we should keep in mind, right? We should keep it in mind and say, okay, well, if we're seeing that cross, then it's something to say, okay, well, we know the risk level is getting relatively high, okay? So yeah, I would say keep it in the back of your mind. If they do cross, which they are getting relatively close, yeah, like that might be reason to be somewhat skeptical. Right now, they're about 2 to 3% apart, and you can see they're converging relatively quickly. Okay, so they could cross in the not so distant future. So I would say keep that in mind. But even if they did cross, we could have a double peak cycle like we did over here, right? Like maybe they cross, maybe Bitcoin comes back down and consolidates, and then maybe it goes back up again, and we have another Pi cycle top. So just something to keep in mind. We do not know how predictive it will be, but we sure as hell will follow it. Okay, we sure as hell will follow it on the channel and see what pans out with it. The other thing to consider is our regression band. Okay, we are getting close to, you know, I mean, we're not actually even in it right now. We've come into the regression band twice, and each time we got fairly handily rejected fairly quickly. So if over the next month or two we see Bitcoin go up into the regression band, right, and go to the top of it, and we see the Pi cycle cross, right, we see the Pi cycle cross. If we go to our monthly chart, and look at our relative strength index on a monthly time frame, and let me make this so you guys can see it. If we're looking something like this, so it basically, if we get the confluence of like, you know, 10 different indicators saying that we're hitting the top, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're hitting the top, but it might be reason to be cautious, okay? Because we've had several monthly tops around that level right there, about the 95 to 97 level. Currently we're coming in hot at 92. Okay, so if say in 2 or 3 weeks we have the monthly RSI going to that level, we have the Pi cycle top saying, hey, the top is in, we're at the top of the regression band, and every model known to man is saying, hey, historically at this time we get a cool down phase. If that happens, it's something to keep in mind, right? It's just something to keep in mind. At the end of the day, every model could be broken. But for me, I like to manage my risk. And if every model known to man is saying that this is a very high risk time for Bitcoin, and if it does come back down, I mean, imagine it goes to like $75,000 or $85,000 in the next 2 or 3 weeks. If it did something crazy like that, and and then it crashed back down to say 30 or 40K or something, and every indicator known to man was flashing it was the top, I mean, the only person I would have to blame it would be myself if I didn't use that information. Again, it's not financial advice. It's just something for you to keep in mind. I know a lot of people just sort of have this buy and hold mentality, and they're just going to hold it for the next 10 years. And I think that's a perfectly valid strategy if that's what your strategy is. Just have a strategy and stick to it, right? Have a strategy and stick to it, and don't get you know, don't let your emotions rule you, right? If you're in it for the next 5 or 10 years, you might not care about these shorter term moves. If you're not, then maybe you do. I don't know. And again, this is just models, it's just data. We're looking at what Bitcoin has historically done. We've seen fairly substantial pullbacks when it reaches this level, okay? And we're getting somewhat close to it. We'll get, you know, when we get a new data point here in a couple of weeks, when we put in April, we'll see where we are. The other indicator I think to look at is the regression rainbow, right? That we like to talk about, and just sort of see where we are. So we're basically at the top of this one, right here. Well, that's where we are right now. And we spent the last cycle this was our accumulation phase last cycle, we know, and then our accumulation phase this cycle was also in that same region, but with slightly more interest cycle volatility up here and then down here. Yeah, so the red line, the red line here is just fit to three. It's only fit to 3 peaks. As I said, I'll say it again. There's going to be some uncertainty in it. It's only fit to 3 data points. Let's switch this back to a weekly time frame. So it's fit to this data point, to this data point, and to this data point. And then I allowed some level of uncertainty there. So that's all it is, nothing more, nothing less. You can make the same fit as well. Just fit it to this equation, and you should get more or less the same thing. This is the natural log. Okay, so that's the equation. You can fit it, you can get the same thing. By the way, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Let's go for 250,000 subscribers. Give the video a thumbs up. Let's get 2,000 likes. Remember, we have a Telegram channel. Ignore the scammers pretending to be me. We're 4 members away from hitting 26,000 people in our Telegram group. So go check out the Telegram group. I'll post it in the chat. Definitely check it out. Ignore the scammers that'll message you pretending to be me. And remember, we also have the premium list altcoin season sale. You can check that out in the description below, or you can find it here in the comments. You'll get access to the weekly reports and videos, the Telegram alerts channel, the Telegram chat room, the risk dashboard, the Into the Cryptoverse app, premium only live streams, and more. Make sure you guys check that out. All right, what else do we have? Should we call it here? I mean, maybe we'll go for 12 more minutes. We'll hit an hour. What other questions do we have? Am I bullish on Link? I'm always bullish on Link, right? It's like the, what's that Hulk meme where they like, you might as well get, are you ready or something? He's like, I'm always angry. I'm always bullish on Link. Maybe not against Bitcoin or Ethereum, but against USD, I've been bullish on Link for a long time. Where did I learn to do this? Just probably from school. Yeah, I mean, I don't really necessarily have opinions on every altcoin known to man, right? I mean, I just don't. I'm not going to pretend to. Yeah, VeChain looks good. We like to talk about VeChain here. I have a nice little position in VeChain. I'm sort of looking for this, right? I mean, I'm not going to get out of bed necessarily for it coming back up to sort of this area right here. But if the VeChain Ether valuation can come up to this level, it might be something to get out of bed for. Okay, so yeah, I like VeChain. I have VeChain. We'll see if it moves back up to the top here. If it does, I might take some profits back to Ethereum. What's the top of the regression line? Well, today, I mean, it changes every single day, but the top of it now is at 87,657. So, I mean, Bitcoin could go up to $87,000, $88,000 in the short term and still be within the regression band. But yeah, it goes up to 87,657. Remember to subscribe to the channel, everyone. Everyone always says that I should have more subscribers. Well, subscribe. We're not even at 237,000 yet. A modest 237,000 at that. Yeah, I'm an advocate of trying to hold your crypto if you can to get to that long-term capital gains territory. I am an advocate of that for sure. Am I going to do a Cardano watch party for when it's listed on Coinbase Pro? Probably not. Yeah, the dominance has been, you know, I mean, it's not, the dominance on Bitcoin has not been going up really. I mean, it went down in this channel here, and then we've been sort of going sideways for a while. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I will. I have a lot of other stuff going on tomorrow, so I don't know if I'll do a live stream on that or not. When is Cardano getting listed on Coinbase? I think it's tomorrow morning, right? I thought it was tomorrow morning. Can anyone clarify? I mean, like maybe like less than 24 hours from now, maybe? Noon Eastern. So that's about 24 hours from now. Now someone's saying tomorrow 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Pacific. Oh, 9 a.m. Pacific, so 12 Eastern. Yeah, so I mean, it's basically 20 hours from now. So I think like 20 hours from now, not 24, 20 hours from now, it should be, I imagine it'll be listed. Do I drive a Lamborghini? No, I drive a 2007 Chevrolet. 2007 Chevy. So no, I do not drive a Lamborghini. Should buy ADA before it opens on Coinbase? I mean, I've been buying ADA since 2 cents. I mean, I haven't bought any recently, but I was buying it at 2 cents last year. You just check out the channel. I've always said that you shouldn't wait for it to be listed on Coinbase, because then you miss out on the Coinbase pump in a bull market. It's better to see if you can get it before it lists on Coinbase. That way, but I mean, you've already somewhat missed out on part of it. I mean, we don't know if it's decisively going to pump when it's listed on Coinbase tomorrow. It might, but you've already missed out on like a 20% pump just from the news of the listing. So that's why I say, like, it's good to, a lot of times it's good to get your position before it goes onto Coinbase. Or even there's news of it going onto Coinbase. What price does DOT need to break to start a new bull run? Well, it went to $42, right? I mean, it went to $42 not too long ago. So I imagine if it could go, if it could get back to $42, back up to this level, that would be relatively bullish for it. Do I think we're above the bottom of the next market cycle? That's a good question. I think we're around it. I think the next bottom of the next cycle could be 40 to 50K. But I mean, that's going to be subject to some uncertainty. I mean, it could be 60K, it could be 70K. But I would say we're probably within 50% of the next market cycle bottom. If I had to guess, right? If I had to guess, I would say within 50% of the next market cycle bottom from here. All right. Remember to check out the premium list. We'll put the altcoin season sale there in the description. By the way, I also have a Twitter. I don't know if you guys follow or use Twitter, but if you want, you should follow me on Twitter. I will post my Twitter in the comments. So you guys should follow me on Twitter. And then remember to check out the Telegram group. Well, we actually hit over 26,000 people, so make sure you guys join Telegram and ignore the scammers pretending to be me. All right, Bitcoin's back above 58K. Let's see where Ether Bitcoin is still not looking so hot at the moment because Bitcoin volatility has in fact gone back up. All right, should we wrap it up? Hopefully, I mean, I don't want to stay on stream all day. I mean, Bitcoin's now it's back above 58. Maybe we'll give it a few more minutes to see if it can move past where it was just a few maybe 30 minutes ago or so. Let's go back to the 1 minute time frame really quick. We'll get off our regression band, sort of see where we are. So we recently went all the way up to 58,252. So let's just give it a minute and see if we break past that or not. If you can't get the purchase to go through Zach, then maybe use a different browser. You can also sign up on patreon.com/intothecryptoverse if you want, or just try it on mobile or something. We also have a lifetime subscription as well. I'll post that in the comments. But maybe we should wrap it up. I mean, we're coming in hot on 1 hour. This is a fairly decent length, I think, for a stream. Bitcoin's right, right around 58K, so we'll keep an eye on it. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream. I need to go eat, actually, because I haven't eaten anything. Someone says they want merchandise. Maybe we'll do merchandise when we get to like 300,000 subscribers or something ridiculous. But I don't know. Maybe at some point. Let's focus on crypto. Let's focus on to some degree, I think merchandise can be distracting. So let's focus on crypto. Let's focus on hopefully making money. Hopefully everyone's making money. If you're not making money in the bull market, I don't know what the hell you're doing, but start making money in the bull market. Get your positions and then wait for the pump to come to you. Don't chase the pump, right? Don't chase the pump. You wait for the pump to come to you. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I think we'll wrap it up there. Definitely subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you next time. Bye.